In the past few years, there's been an astonishing increase in awareness towards the environmental protection and the sustainability of Earth. As world leaders continue to meet to discuss the future of our planet, all eyes continue to turn to the dangerously unsustainable lifestyles that we lead, the catalyst of these being the linear economy that we all rely on. With instant gratification and feedback now essential for many, the linear economy follows the simple steps of take, make, waste. Resources are extracted, used and then thrown away, chucked into landfill sites to slowly decompose, this itself harming our environment and providing a catalyst for global warming amongst other issues. With over 50% of the human population now choosing to live in cities and producing more than 70% of global waste, the focus on creating a more sustainable way of living in these grand habitats is a must if we are to see real change on a societal level. The linear model that acts as the basis for most of the globe's largest cities uses raw materials in an inefficient manner, taking a greater focus on eco-efficiency, an inefficient and unfair model when viewed from the periphery of these cities. This is where circular cities come into the fold. Simply put, a circular city is a city that promotes a transition from a linear to a circular economy across the urban space through multiple city functions. There's an increasing proof showing the benefits of such a mentality, with a high concentration of resources, capital data, and talent within large ecosystems, uniquely positioning them to support many circular business models, from sharing and reusing systems to the product as a service model.
How does the business model work to create or contribute to circularity? Well, what does the circular economy look like for cities? The application of the circular economy business model to cities has taken shape across the globe in different ways. One prominent example is Berlin. Circular Berlin is a non-profit organisation that has been at the forefront of change in Berlin by developing projects to transform various industries. These include the built environment, food and biomass, and textile and fashion. For the purposes of this presentation, within the time we have, I will focus solely on the built environment. This has been signposted by Williams 2019 as a key facet of cities that have the potential for great change. Such change refers to the restoration and preservation of the urban ecosystem by incorporating green and blue infrastructure into the urban fabric. In Berlin, this has seen the implementation of green roofs. With such greening, the roofs are able to survive longer against weather and intense sunlight, thereby increasing the longevity of the conventional flat roofs and reducing waste in the long run. Fundamentally, this contributes to the decoupling of economic growth from natural resource depletion and further environmental degradation. Another attempt to implement green infrastructure has been to construct treatment ponds for handling stormwater. When there is heavy rainfall, sometimes the waste treatment plant's capacity becomes overwhelmed, and the combined stormwater and wastewater contaminates the local rivers. Ultimately, this degrades the environment and reduces the biodiversity of the rivers. Berlin's stormwater treatment ponds reduce the runoff of contaminated rainfall into the river, and through using very little energy, the water is purified in the treatment pond and then reused for irrigation and flushing toilets. Here, the urban metabolism of the city is fully harnessed, and stormwater becomes a resource for regeneration rather than a potential threat to the environment. Alongside the materialisation of circular principles in Berlin, as exemplified above, great effort has been made by Climate KIC Germany to obtain key insight into the challenges and leverage points within Berlin's construction sector by conducting 18 interviews with a diverse range of stakeholders. This aligns with a key principle of the circular economy that encourages collaboration with residents, businesses and the research community to ensure its just and effective implementation. It is important to note that on their own, the two infrastructure projects mentioned are great in increasing the circularity of Berlin. They can inspire development to cities elsewhere in the future. However, it is important to recognise that cities all have complex, unique urban ecosystems with a wide diversity of actors, sectors and consumers, each with different motivations and demands. Considering this, it is important to consider the localisation of resource flows and activities within each city to ensure the best circular approaches are developed. Further, these key examples highlight an overemphasis on production processes. This has been heavily critiqued by experts who suggest that consumer behaviour will also be crucial for cities making a sustainable transition. This is something to think about looking forward.
Circular cities have the potential to grasp numerous opportunities. These include moving away from financial meltdown, addressing the climate crisis, waste reduction, space utilisation and the creation of a sharing economy. Due to a city's high concentration of resources, capital data and talent spread over a relatively small area, cities are centre for innovation, making them perfectly suited to sharing models, or product as service models. The first and perhaps biggest opportunity to address is waste reduction. This includes landfill waste, utilising space and creating a sharing economy within cities in order to keep people away from numerous first-time purchases. According to the World Bank, the globe's largest cities generated 1.3 billion tonnes of solid waste in 2012, and this is set to grow by 70% by 2050, fueled by rapid urbanisation and growing populations. So what are the opportunities here? The Western Cape has introduced an industrial symbiosis programme, helping citizens to understand their own waste streams and to identify unused or unutilised resources, such as energy, water and expertise. Once identified, the industrial symbiosis members cut costs and increase profits to create revenue streams, learn from experts and operate more sustainably to contribute to circularity. Everything is regenerative and distributive by design. To combat chemical pollution, biodiversity loss and air pollution, Oslo has started to experiment to achieve circularity through a car-free city centre. Medellin has river parks and Amsterdam has circular construction shown through the donut system. Meanwhile, Seattle was one of the first cities to ensure there was a living wage, ensuring social equality, gender equality and social equity, both being part of the social foundation within the donut model. Furthermore, in order to keep products in use, some cities are becoming circular through reusing, repairing and refurbishing, or equally sharing rather than owning. An example of this is Milan, utilising shared e-mobility such as e-cars, bikes, e-logistic vehicles, charging points and smart parking. Milan's new urban sharing platform combines incremental integration and enhancement to existing linear solutions, providing full support to the needs of the different smart sharing city innovations.
To recap, the circular economy seeks to decouple economic growth from natural resource depletion and further environmental degradation. Circular cities will become a crucial space for aiding the global sustainable transition and achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals, fundamentally due to the fact that cities currently produce more than 70% waste and that by 2050, 70% of global population are expected to live in cities. The potential for circularity within cities has been exemplified within this presentation, with reference to Berlin and its implementation of green and blue infrastructure, and Oslo, which seeks to create a car-free city centre and transport sharing economy. The main opportunities that we have identified include reduced waste, chemical pollution, biodiversity loss, air pollution, and fully harnessing the ecosystem and natural resources of the city. Ultimately, this will support certain circular business models, such as sharing models, the reuse system, and product as a service models. Ultimately, this will aid the global sustainable energy transition, as well as support the 2/3 of us that will be living in urban areas by 2050. After reviewing the definition, contribution, and opportunities of circular cities, we want to also look to the future of the circular economy and what this may look like in urban areas. A study by Van Hughes et al. Highlighted the lack of depth there has been into considering both the intended and unintended social consequences when implementing circular economy principles in cities. The scope has been limited, only covering employment and governance. Therefore, looking to the future, the main barrier, alongside a general lack of emphasis on consumer behaviour, could see a reinforcement of social inequality and injustice, which alludes back to the impact of a linear economy. Therefore, this is something to be mindful of when implementing circular economy principles within a city.